Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, sir.
Okay, Ji.
Right.
So ma- we were discussing the chart, so I'm going to put up the same chart which we were discussing earlier about the marriage. So let me present the chart. Now, is the chart visible? Okay. So what we have discussed so far is that we have been talking about that at which probable age the marriage of this person is likely to happen. And if you remember, we have already concluded that the marriage can happen anytime after 26.5 years of age up to 30 years of age. So then the second point that we have discussed is that which among the dashas would be suitable when the marriage is likely to happen. So we have two dashas, one Jupiter, which is up to July 2027, and after that it is the Saturn dasha which starts. Now, the question here is that should we take into account the Jupiter dasha or should we reject it? And if you remember it, we have already discussed that among the two dashas, both the dashas are favorable. Jupiter dasha is favorable, Saturn dasha is also favorable, but amongst the two dashas, the Saturn dasha is more favorable. Now the question comes that why should we say that the Saturn dasha is more favorable? There are three reasons for it. Reason number one is that we have already discussed on the basis of the seventh cuspal sub-sublord Jupiter, which is in the star of Venus, in the sub of Rahu, and in the sub-sub of Venus. And Jupiter, if I just count the age of these planets, then the age approximately comes and turns out to be close to 30 years. It is 32, 28, 60, and 60 and 32. It is 92 divided by 3. You can well imagine that the age is close to 30 years. Now, the second reason that why I'm saying so, that instead of taking the Jupiter dasha, I should prefer the Saturn dasha. The reason for it is that it has been pinpointed that whenever moon is in the star or in the sub or in the sub-sub of Saturn, or Saturn is in the star or in the sub of moon, when Saturn is in the star of sub or in the sub of moon, there is going to be some delay. But if moon is in the star of Saturn or in the sub of Saturn, there is likely to be a delay in the marriage. And when you say in KP, people talk about Punarfu Yoga. And here also, if you look here, Saturn is having seventh aspect on moon, making a Punarfu Yoga. We forget about the Punarfu Yoga in the Cuspal interlink theories. We don't take into account the Punarfu Yoga. But at the same time, we do say that if moon is in the star, in the sub or in the sub-sub of Saturn, then there is likely to be a delay in the marriage. Apart from this, when we study the ascendant sub-sublord, which is Saturn, and the seventh sub-sublord Jupiter, here also we find that both Saturn and both Jupiter is in the star of Venus, and Venus is giving almost all the 12 houses, both positive and negative houses. And when we look into the sub, which is Rahu, it is giving 5 and 7 along with 4, 5, 7, and 11 along with 2, 4, and 10. So some kind of delay is likely to be there. And that is why instead of taking Jupiter as the Dasha, we prefer to take Saturn as the Dasha during which the marriage of this person is most likely to happen. Now, if Saturn Dasha is to be taken, then if you remember it, that Saturn here, when I take the co-rulers of 5, 7, and 11, and the co-rulers of 5, they are Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn. Co-rulers of 7 are Jupiter, Venus, Ketu, Jupiter, and 11 are Mars, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn. Ketu is placed in the 7th house, and Ketu represents Saturn and Sun. Thereby, the 7th house co-rulers would be Jupiter, Venus, Ketu, Jupiter, Saturn, and Sun. So these will be the co-rulers of the 7th house. And the 11th house co-rulers, Mars is there. Mars is already one of the co-rulers of the 11th house. Thereby, when I take into account all the co-rulers of 5, 7, and 11, and I just find out the common planets, I find that Saturn and Venus both are becoming significators of 5, 7. Both are becoming co-rulers of 5, 7, and 11. Jupiter is a co-ruler of 5 and 7. Mercury and Sun. Mercury is co-ruler of 5 and 11. Sun is co-ruler of 7. And Ketu is also co-ruler of 7. So, if I look into the planets, which are the co-rulers of the 7th cusp, they are Saturn, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, Sun, Ketu, and then of course Rahu is to be taken because Rahu here also represents Moon and Saturn. So Saturn here represents 5, 7, and 11. Thereby, these are the co-rulers of the 7th house. Now the question here is that after having selecting the dasha, we have to select the bhukti. That there are 9 bhuktis, that which among these bhuktis is likely to be the best among all the 9 planets. My first focus will be on the bhukti of Saturn. Why on the bhukti of Saturn? Because Saturn dasha starts from July 27, 9th of July 2027, and the Saturn bhukti runs from 9th of July 2027 to 11th of July 2030. Saturn bhukti is to run for as many as 3 years. So we cannot neglect this bhukti. And at the same time, if I look into the significations of Saturn, Saturn does not have a PS. It is in the star of Venus, which is 5, 7, 11. It is in the sub of Saturn, which is again 5, 7, 11. It is in the sub of Jupiter, and Jupiter here is again 5 and 7. So Saturn, since it involves all the 3 houses, it is a giving a promise of all the 3 houses through involvement and commitment. Thereby, Saturn can be repeated. And if you remember that the rule for the repetition of the same planet is that the planet should become a co-ruler of the primary house as well as the co-ruler of all the supporting houses. And Saturn here is a significator of 5, 7, 11. Saturn here is signifying all the 3 cusps 5, 7, and 11. That is why the Saturn bhukti can be repeated. And hence, if I repeat the Saturn bhukti, then Saturn bhukti is likely to be there up to 11/7/2030. Now, the next question here arises is that if Saturn bhukti is repeated, then can Saturn be repeated as Antara? Then the answer to this question is no. Why do I say that? I would have taken Saturn as the Antara had Saturn physically been present in the seventh house. If you look here, Saturn is posted in the 10th house. So it is not present in the seventh house. Had Saturn been present in the seventh house, Ketu also represents Saturn, and Saturn is also present over here, then I would certainly have repeated the Antara of Saturn because it satisfies the condition for triplicating. So here, since Saturn is not physically present in the seventh house, rather it is in the 10th house, Saturn Antara will not be taken. Now, if Saturn Antara is not to be taken, then which among the other eight Antaras is the suitable one that is likely to be taken up? So, for this purpose, we will again go back to Saturn Bhukti. And you know, Saturn Bhukti starts on which date? Saturn Bhukti starts on 9/7 2027, and the time is 4:30. So I will have to check the transit from 9/7 2027 4:30 time onwards to find out that what is the suitable position for the Jupiter, which will signify the year in which the marriage is likely to happen. If you remember here, Saturn Bhukti is right up to 11th of July 2030. So 9th of July 2027 to 11th of July 2030 means we have 3 full years with us. And during these 3 years, Jupiter will transit in three different houses. So we have to decide that which probable transit of Jupiter suits and is most likely to give the event of the marriage. So what I do is I now move on to the transit, and the date was 9/7/2027, and the time was 4:30. When I check the transit on this particular date, then Jupiter here on this particular date, when the Saturn Bhukti starts, is transiting in the sign of Leo. And since it is transiting in the sign of Leo, Lord of Leo is Sun. And if you look at the significations of Sun, Sun is in Ketu star. Ketu is the seventh cusp co-ruler, seventh sublord. It is in Rahu. Rahu is also representing 5 and 7 because Rahu here is what? Rahu here is Moon and Saturn. So it will be giving us 5, 7, 11, and it is in the sub of Rahu, which is okay. So it means the transit of Jupiter in Leo sign appears to be okay. But the event will not fructify when Jupiter is transiting in the sign of Leo. The question here again is why? What is the reason? Why the when Sun is becoming a strong significator for giving the event of marriage, then why the transit of Jupiter in the sign of Leo is not acceptable and it is not likely to fructify, it is not likely to give the event? The answer to this question is, now look here, Jupiter from its Sagittarius sign, Jupiter with its Sagittarius sign, and Jupiter has Pisces sign. It's a lord of two signs, Sagittarius and Pisces. From Pisces, Leo is having 6-8 connection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And from Jupiter, Pisces sign is 8th house. So 6-8 connection is there. Thereby, if you remember it, time and again I have been repeating it, that whenever there is a 6-8 connection, and whenever the planet is present 12th to its own sign, then it is not likely to give the event, or the event will not fructify. So here, as Jupiter is making a 6-8 relation with its own sign, the Pisces sign, therefore the presence of Jupiter in the Leo sign will not allow the event to happen. So the event will not fructify, which means that we shall have to shift the Jupiter from Leo to the next sign, which is Virgo sign. So to do this, what I have to do is Jupiter here is at 2 degrees 21 minutes. So I change it by 1 year. When I forward it by 1 year, Jupiter here is still 27 degrees 36 minutes. I again forward it. I'm sorry. I again forward it by 1 month. And when I do it, then Jupiter shifts to the Virgo sign with 2 degrees 46 minutes and 34 seconds. Now, the position of Jupiter in this sign is okay because it is not making any 6-8 relation with its two signs, which are Sagittarius, and the second one is the Pisces sign. Now, the position of Jupiter in Virgo is okay. If you look at Mercury also, Mercury is in star of Saturn, in the sub of Jupiter, and in the sub of Sun. Mercury itself is a co-ruler of the seventh house. We have already discussed. No, it's a co-ruler of the fifth and the 11th house. Mercury is a co-ruler of fifth and the 11th house, but it has no PS. It is in the star of Saturn, which is 5, 7, 11. It is in the sub of Jupiter, which is 5 and 7. And it is in the sub of Sun, which by virtue of Ketu is the virtual sub-lord of the seventh house. Thereby, the presence of Jupiter in the Virgo sign will give the event. Now, how long it will stay in the Virgo sign? So, it has entered the Virgo sign on which date? If I show it through the ephemeris, it was 2028. Now, in 2028, it was on 27th of 27th of November 2027 when Jupiter entered into the Virgo sign. And it will stay in this sign. How long? It will stay in this sign till 26th of December 2028. 26th of December 2028. So Jupiter, during its stay in this Virgo sign, is most likely to give the event, which means that Jupiter in this sign will stay for almost 1 year. Up to what date? It will be 26/12/2028. And when did it enter the Virgo sign? It entered the Virgo sign on 27th of November 2027. So it means the event is likely to fructify from 27/11/2027 to 26/12/2028, subject to the condition that the transit of other planets, one is Saturn, other is Sun and Moon, if they if the transit of these planets is also favorable, then only the event is likely to happen. I will again shift on to the same transit position. It is 9/8/2028. Jupiter is in Virgo sign, and now here it is at 2 degrees 46 minutes and 34 minutes. Now, will the event fructify on this particular date? The answer is we cannot decide. We can simply decide on the basis of transit of Jupiter here that within the next 1 year, this event is likely to fructify. But the transit of Sun and Moon is also to be taken up. And at the same time, the Saturn transit of Saturn is also very, very important. Now, here, Saturn is in the Aries sign. Lord of Aries is Mars. And if you look at Mars, it is in Venus star 5711. It is in Mercury's sub, which is 511. And it is in the Saturn sub sub, which is again 5711. Which means that the transit of Saturn in the Aries sign is likely to give the event. And here in this Aries sign, Saturn will remain for how many years? 2.5 years. Already Saturn is at what degree when Jupiter entered the Virgo sign? It is 16 degrees 53 minutes and 28 minutes. Now, before adjusting the transit of Sun and finding out the position at which Sun is most likely to give the event, first of all, I have to take into account one more condition which is very, very important. And I have been discussing this number of times in your class that Saturn should aspect Jupiter or Jupiter should aspect Sun. This is very important. Now, from if you look from Jupiter, Jupiter is not aspecting Saturn, and if you look from Saturn, it is also not aspecting Jupiter. It means at this particular time period, the event will not fructify. How long it will not fructify? Till Jupiter and Saturn, they relate to each other through the aspect or through the conjunction. Now, for this purpose, what I will do is, I will now again enhance it 1 week each. And when I do it on 23rd of August 2028, Saturn becomes retrograde. And as Saturn becomes retrograde, it means Saturn will operate from both the previous house as well as the house where it is posited. So if Saturn here becomes retrograde, it will operate from the 10th house also, operate in the Pisces sign also. And when it is operating from the Pisces sign, it will make a relationship with the Jupiter. Now look here, Saturn in the 11th house, in the sign of Aries, is having an aspect on the ascendant, Lagna, Mercury. Ascendant, Mercury is ascendant. Mercury is the lord of the ascendant. It is making a relation with the Lagna. And Saturn from the 10th house is making a relation with the 7th house, whose lord is Jupiter. And Saturn, because it will be acting from the previous house, Jupiter and Saturn is aspecting Jupiter, or you can say Jupiter is aspecting Saturn. It means that this is the position where the position of the two main slow moving planets is fixed, and they are likely to give the event subject to condition that the transit of Sun and Moon is also found to be okay. Now, after fixing here, the date comes out to be 23/8/2028, and if you remember that 23/8/2028 and Jupiter will stay in Virgo sign till 26/12/2028, it means that the event is most likely to happen in the period of 2000. It is 23/8/2028 right up to 26/12/2028. And if you just count the number of months here from 8th month to 12th month, how many Months are there, 4 months are there. And when 4 months are there, if you look at the transit of sun over, if you look at the position of sun over here, sun is in the Leo sign at a degree of 6 degrees 6 minutes. Now it can transit in four different signs, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it will transit into Virgo sign, will transit into the Libra sign, Scorpio sign, and Sagittarius sign. The question is that which among these will be most favorable one, which is likely to give the event. Now, before we focus on the transit of Sun, which is likely to be from the Leo sign up to Sagittarius signs for the period that we have calculated for Jupiter. Also, when you look at the retrogression of Saturn, then Saturn becomes retrograde on Saturn becomes retrograde. Here it is. Saturn becomes retrograde in the Aries sign on 24th of August 2028 and will remain retrograde up to what period? Up to 5/1 2029. 5/1 2029. Now, as long as it is retrograde, as long as it is retrograde, it will satisfy the position of Saturn and will also justify the transit of Saturn because it will be operating from the 11th house as well as from the 10th house, and it will stay retrograde up to 5/1 2029, which means that the upper limit for the solemnization of the marriage of this native is now fixed from 23/8 2028 to 26/12 2028, and the period of Jupiter falls in the range when the Saturn remains retrograde, which is from which date? 23/8 2028 up to 5/1 2029. It falls in that particular period. Thereby, now the position of two major planets, Saturn and Jupiter, is fixed, and we have to now focus upon the transit for Sun.
Sir, please repeat, sir. Please repeat
Okay,
once again.
okay. What did I say was, now before we proceed to examining the transit of Sun and Moon to find out that which is the appropriate sign in which the transit of Sun and Moon will satisfy or will allow the event to fructify, we have to first of all fix two major planets, and the two major planets, one is Jupiter and the other is Saturn. What we calculated? We calculated that Jupiter will shift to the Leo sign on 27th of November 2027 and will remain in this Virgo sign. I'm sorry, मैं लियो बोल दिया था गलती से. It will stay in the Virgo sign up to 26/12/2028. For one full year, it is going to stay here. And as long as Jupiter is here, the event is likely to fructify. Now, when it entered on 27/11/2027, Saturn was in the Aries sign, and the event did not fructify because Saturn and Jupiter, they were not having any link with each other. Another important condition for a favorable transit is that either it is the Jupiter and Saturn, they should conjoin or they should aspect each other. And unless and until this condition is fulfilled, the event is not likely to fructify. particularly for the case of marriage, this event is not likely to fructify. I have even found it in the case of job and service. There also, the event does not fructify when these two planets they do not aspect or conjoin each other. So here, Saturn becomes retrograde in this sign on 23rd of August 2028 and will remain retrograde. Now, when Saturn becomes retrograde, it will act from 11th house and also it will act from the previous house because of the retrogression. It means Saturn will act from both 10th house as well as 11th house. Now, when Saturn on 23rd of August 2028 becomes retrograde, Jupiter aspects Saturn and Saturn aspects Jupiter, it satisfies the necessary condition. Apart from this, Saturn from Aries sign is making a connection with the Lagna, 1, 2, and 3, third aspect, and Saturn from the 10th house is making a connection with the 7th house, 10th aspect on the 7th house. It is also aspecting Jupiter. So both these planets are satisfying the conditions required for the fructification of the event. So we are only left now with the fixing of Sun and Moon. So what did I say was that Saturn becomes retrograde on 23/8/2028 and will remain retrograde till 5th of January 2029. And what is the time that we had with Jupiter? It is 23/8/2028 to 26/12/2028, which falls in that period. It means that the position of Jupiter over here is likely to give the event. So, after this, I discussed that after fixing these two planets, the major planets, now we have to fix the position of Sun. So, as Jupiter will stay in the Virgo sign from 23rd of August 2028 up to 26th of December 2028, how many months do we have with us? We have 4 months with us. And 4 months with us means that Sun will transit from Leo sign up to Sagittarius sign. These are the 4 different signs in which Sun can transit. It will be transiting in Leo, it will be transiting in the Virgo sign, transiting in the Libra sign, Scorpio sign, and finally the Sagittarius sign. And we have to fix the position of Sun right from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 signs. In these particular signs only, the period in which the Jupiter will stay in the Virgo sign. Now the question is that what should be the best position for the transit of Sun? Now, in order to fix the position of Sun, what is important is in the transit of Sun, that Sun either it should transit the 7th house or Sun should transit the 11th house or Sun should transit the 2nd house. These are favorable positions for the transit of Sun for any event and for every event. The transit of Sun in 2nd house, in 7th house and 11th house. This is for marriage. Transit of Sun in the 2nd house, in the 5th house and 11th house for the childbirth. Transit of Sun in the 2nd house, in the 6th house, in the 10th house and 11th house for the case of job. Every time 2nd house is important, 11th house is important. The only houses which we are changing are the primary houses of the event. For childbirth, 5th house, job, 6th house, 10th house, marriage, 7th house. So, the first important point is that the favorable position for transit of Sun in the case of marriage is the 2nd house, 7th house, and 11th house. First point. The second important point is that Sun should either conjoin or aspect Jupiter. That is important. It should either conjoin or it should aspect Jupiter. That is another condition. So the first condition is second house, seventh house, and 11th house. That should be the first priority. And if this is not possible, then it should conjoin with Jupiter or should be aspected by Jupiter. So, looking into these conditions for fixing Sun, I would directly shift Sun from Leo sign to Sagittarius sign because this is the seventh house, right? Now, the question is the transit of Sun in Leo sign is okay, but it is not making any connection with Jupiter. The transit of Sun in Virgo sign is okay. It is conjoining with Jupiter. In the Libra sign, it is not related to Jupiter, not related to seventh house. In the Scorpio sign, not related to Jupiter, not related to seventh house, not related to 11th house. Here it is aspecting the 11th house. But it has to make a relation with, it has to be physically present in the second house, in the seventh house, in the 11th house is the first condition. And secondly, if this condition is not satisfied, somehow Saturn should either conjoin with Jupiter or should be aspected by Jupiter. So the most favorable position for Sun to transit will be a sign which is a co-ruler of the seventh house. Now look here. Now before I come to the transit of Sun, the dasha here is Saturn, bhukti here is Saturn, and the antara comes out to be Venus. So the antara comes out to be Venus, and Venus antara is likely to stay up to 5 to 2029. Therefore, Venus antara is also fixed because it falls in the period in which Jupiter will stay in the Virgo sign. So Venus antara is okay. And if you look at Venus, it is in Mercury sign, Venus sub and Ketu sub sub. Mercury sign is a co-ruler of 511. Venus itself, I suppose, Venus has got a PS if I am not wrong. No. So Mercury sign, it is co-ruler of 5 7. Venus is in Venus sub 5 7 11. It is in Ketu sub sub, which is a virtual sub sub lord of the seventh house. Now here a question comes to the mind that Ketu here is also a sub sub lord of the sixth house and sub sub lord of the 12th house, which means that after the marriage, because Ketu here is appearing as the sub sub lord, there can be certain differences or issues between the two partners, right? So, sixth house is also related to disease, 12th house is related to hospitalization. So, they are related to so many things. So many combinations can be made out of it. So, to talk about any such combination before the marriage, it's not possible. It's only after the marriage you can tell that because of this combination, such and such thing happened. Anyhow, Ketu is also co-ruler of 6 and 12. Appearance merely in 6 and 12 does not deny Ketu to not allow the event to happen in the Venus Antra. Okay, and you can check in the Cuspal interlink table also that Venus is in Mercury star, which is 5 and 11, along with 2, 4, 6, 10. It is in Venus sub, which is 5, 7, 11. No negative houses there, except 2. No negative houses there. And 2 alone has no meaning at all because 2 without 6 has no meaning. 2 means family also. 2 means natives family also. 2 means natives wealth also. So it has no meaning at all. So apart from that, 2 and 8 they are connected. 8 means the spouse income, and it is connected to 2 means that the spouse Whosoever comes, maybe earning money and bringing it to home. It can be like that also. So it is in the Ketu sub, which is again 5, 7, and 11. And Ketu sub is giving all the houses 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12, along with 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. All six negative houses, all six positive houses means it will give us mixed results. Is it okay? So it will not deny the marriage, it will give us mixed results. So anything can happen after the marriage. Anyhow, at the present moment, it is not denying the marriage, it is allowing the marriage to happen because involvement of 5 7 is strongly committed by 3 5 7 11 at the sub level, right? And then 8 and 12, they are two neutral houses because 8 to the 7th house is second house and 12 to the 7th house is sixth house. Both 2 and 6, they are neutral. The only negative house that is present all alone is 2, and the existence of 2 all alone without combination with 6, without combination with 12, or without combination or without being in a group does not mean anything. Thereby, the Venus Antra is okay and the marriage will fructify in the Venus Antra. So, coming back to our topic, Venus Antra is okay. The question was that we have to now fix the position of Sun so that we can fix the Sukshma. Venus Antra is okay. So, Sukshma and Prana is probably decided by fixing Sun and Moon. So, Sun here I already pointed out the conditions for fixing Sun. So, Sun, I would directly shift from the Leo sign to the Sagittarius sign because the position of Sun is more favorable when it is in the Sagittarius sign than when it is in the Leo sign, it is in the Virgo sign, it is in the Libra sign, or it is in the Scorpio sign. Hence, shifting Sun from Leo to the Sagittarius sign, it is in the seventh house, favorable position for Sun to give the event, and it is making a relation with both Lagna as well as the seventh house. Right? So the position of Sun is okay. Now the next question is about fixing the position of Moon. And Moon, the best position for fixing the Moon is that it should be aspected by Jupiter. So to get an aspect of Jupiter, I will change it by 1 day. And when I do it, I get Moon in the Pisces sign, aspected by Jupiter, favorable position for the transit of Moon, and hence 24/12/2028. So marriage can happen in Saturn, Venus, Saturn, and Rahu. It means any time in between 22/12/2028 to 26/12/2028, the event of marriage can happen. Now, another important point here was that if you look into the cuspal interlink table, except Moon, because Moon is in the sub of Moon, all other planets are becoming significators for giving the event of marriage. All planets. Out of 9 planets, 8 planets are becoming significators for giving the event of marriage except Moon. So it means that whenever the planets will transit in the star, in the sign, in the sub or in the sub-sub of Moon, the event will not fructify. And if you look here, take the transit of Sun, no Moon is there. Sun is in Jupiter sign, 5 7, Ketu star, PS, posted in the 7th house, Jupiter sub 5 7, Ketu sub sub. Okay. Look at moon, Jupiter sign, Saturn star 5 7 11, Venus sub 5 7 11, Rahu which is giving 5 7. Then look at Saturn, Mars star, Ketu, I'm sorry, Mars sign, Ketu star, Saturn sub, Venus sub, no moon is there. All are strongly signifying the seventh house. Ketu positioned in seventh house. Saturn 5 7 11, Venus 5 7 11. Look at Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Rahu. So in none of these dasha period lords, moon is appearing anywhere, and thereby the event is most likely to happen. The marriage is most likely to happen between 22nd of December 2028, 20 to 26th of December 2028. So that is how you know, by thoroughly examining the chart and at the same time, properly applying the rules for the transit, you can come at the exact or nearly exact age of the marriage. So this was all about the marriage of this native, which cannot happen before 22nd of December 2028. Now, the class is open to questions, and if you have questions, you can ask me questions. I will try to
Sir, my
explain the answer.
Kapil bhai, mera question.
हाँ जी.
This is in Caspal interlink. Colors of intentionally he has omitted the retrogression, aspect, conjunction,
जी जी.
and all these concepts you have brought into this analysis and 6-8 connection. All these
Yes,
are
sir.
nowhere mentioned.
నాయుడు సార్ నాయుడు సార్ మీ మీ దాంట్లో డిస్టర్బెన్స్ వస్తుంది. డిస్టర్బెన్స్
No, no,
డిస్టర్బెన్స్
no, not in my sir.
ఎవరో డిస్టర్బెన్స్ వస్తుంది, మైక్ ఆఫ్ చేసుకోండి. Some disturbance is coming. Switch off.
రామ్ ప్రకాష్ గారు
అయ్యా ఆఫ్ చేయండి. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు అడగండి సార్.
Retrogression, combustion, aspect, 6-8 connections, nowhere mentioned by Collarji in any of his books.
जी, I will, sir. Had I explained you that the transit of sun is favorable in the Sagittarius sign, the transit of moon is favorable in the Pisces sign, the position of Saturn is favorable in the Aries sign, and the position of Jupiter is favorable in the Virgo sign. Now your question would have been, why did I fix these positions only? Khullarji ne, he did not mention it anywhere in his chapters. But if you thoroughly examine all his charts given in the YTH, you will not directly find an answer. You will not directly find such reasons. But he has also used some of these reasons. And the answer to this he has already given in his book on true astrology. In true astrology, he says that people in KP, they take retrogression, they take conjunctions, and they take aspects, and they are talking of Punarfu yoga. I don't deny Punarfu yoga. So Punarfu yoga he accepted. About retrogression and about the aspects and conjunction, he says that I am not taking into account. I am explaining these answers without taking into account the retrogression, aspects, and conjunction. Now here, my point was to explain that why the position of Saturn is favorable over here. For position of Saturn to be favorable, it has to form a link with the Lagna, and it has to form a link with the 7th house. Unless and until it does so, that particular position of Saturn will not be okay, and it will not allow the event to happen. So that is why, in order to explain it, I have suggested this is how the concept of retrogression I have used. Why did I say retrogression? Because my point of using retrogression here was that Jupiter during retrogression will also act from the previous house. And Khullarji has also mentioned in his text that in the retrogression of planets, it also acts from the previous house. Now, he did not clearly mention in his charts reasons best known to him. But what I believe is that in all his charts, when he has been talking about the adjustment of positions, now look here, na, Jupiter transit in Leo is okay, Jupiter transit in Virgo is okay, Jupiter transit in the Libra sign is also okay. Then how do we say that it will fructify the event only when it is in this sign? So you have to come up with the reasons. So that is why I gave an idea of 6-8. 6-8, even he doesn't deny. He says, what is the basic concept? That 12th to any house is a negative house. 12th to any house is a negative house. It means if Jupiter is operating in the 9th house and it is 12th to its own sign, it will not allow the event to fructify. So that
No,
is the
that
idea.
is your
Yes.
logical analysis is acceptable,
जी.
but in gospel interlink, these aspects are
सर
not there.
उसमें ऐसा है ना सर कि सी मैं जो बात कह रहा हूँ वो ये कि अगर इफ आई डायरेक्टली से दैट इट इज नॉट फेवरेबल इन दिस साइन से इफ इट से दैट it is not favorable in the Leo sign, the transit of Jupiter in Leo sign, the lord of which is Mars, is not favorable sign. Now Mars here is giving 5 7 11 involvement, 5 11 commitment along with 2 4 6 10, and then 5 7 11 final confirmation, right?
No,
So
no,
here
sir. No, sir. Leo sign Lord Mars nahi, Sun.
no,
Leo.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. अब इसमें ले लें सर सन का साइन लें 5 7 11 इन्वॉल्वमेंट 5 7 11 कमिटमेंट एंड 5 7 11 फाइनल कंफर्मेशन स्टिल द इवेंट इज नॉट हैपनिंग नाउ what would we say on the basis of cuspal interlink theory? See, the link is to 2 4 and 10, it will cause a delay in the marriage. So that is why during this period the marriage will not happen. Any cuspal interlink teacher, whosoever will come across this chart, he by looking at sun and the sublord position in 2 4 and 10, he will say there is likely to be some delay in the marriage, and then he will focus on it and say that because of it there are going to be certain hurdles. Now this is not the correct answer to the problem, because this is a too confusing answer, that simply by saying that 2 4 and 10 delay in marriage is there, thereby the position of sun, the position of Jupiter in the Leo sign is not appropriate and it will not give the event. So you cannot really explain it unless and until you take into account other things also.
Sir, it is clearly, as I understand, it is clearly mentioned the transit sign lord, star lord, sublord, and sub-sublord should be the fruitful significators of the event.
Significator. Yes.
Of the event, that's all.
Yes.
So the negative houses may be there, but that does not mean, see whether it's a fruitful significator or not, only we have to see.
सर फ्रूटफुल सिग्निफिकेटर कैलकुलेट करने के लिए मैं आई एम जस्ट वर्किंग ऑन इट टू फाइंड आउट द एग्जैक्ट फ्रूटफुल सिग्निफिकेटर्स इन कस्पल इंटरलिंक थ्योरी, एंड द मोमेंट आई एम वेरी श्योर अबाउट व्हाट आई कम अप विद माय एनालिसिस, देन आई विल एक्सप्लेन इट इन द क्लास.
Yes,
I have
looked
हाँ जी.
Another point is, what I understand is when a planet is in retrogression, it will not give you results unless it comes to the positive.
Direct.
No, sir, that is the idea which is used by KP. It is the idea used in KP. Here we don't use that idea. In cuspal interlink theory, retrogression I am using here only by saying that it will also act from the previous house. That's all, nothing else.
Sir, can I interfere in?
एक मिनट सर, इनकी बात क्लियर कर लें सर. हो जाए सर. गुड इवनिंग, करते हैं आपसे बात. हाँ जी नायडू जी, और कुछ है आपका क्वेश्चन?
वही रिट्रोग्रेशन प्लैनेट आप द Saturn 11th and 10th का भी दे रहे बोला.
I am not using retrogression.
10th is an unfavorable house.
नहीं. Retrogression I am not using it. Simply by having a retrograde planet I am focusing that it will also act from the previous house. That's all. And this is the concept, this is the idea of KP, that a retrograde planet will act from the previous house. Even Khullarji has also given the same idea in his book on true astrology, where he has written, and that is based
No,
upon the traditional concepts. Traditional concepts. So he has given over there. So here, my using the point retrogression was that it will also act from the previous house. That's the only point, nothing else.
The previous house is an unfavorable to the event.
No, sir, it is not unfavorable. When Saturn, sir, nahi sir, nahi.
Tenth
When
house is an
Saturn,
unfavorable.
sir, when Saturn is posted in the 10th house, then it has 10th aspect on the 7th house. It activates the 7th house. It is not unfavorable. It is favorable position. It is favorable position. Now, if you go for Vedic analysis through Vedic, they will say that if Saturn is present in the 7th house, Saturn is present in the 5th house, Saturn is present in the 10th house, or Saturn is present in the Lagna, it will mean delay in the marriage. Marriage is delayed. This is okay. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Sir, there are number of different methods,
But we are discussing the Cuspal interlink method only here.
Yes, only Cuspal interlink
different
method.
methods.
No different method, only Cuspal interlink method. You cannot explain it exactly on the basis of transit, cannot be explained by Cuspal interlink theory.
Because he has not given even a single example.
Yes. Transit, no idea to how transit operates. No idea to how to use the transit is given. If you look into the charts which have been given in the book on YTH and the predictions are made, you will find that whatever ideas I am using, Khullarji has also used the same ideas without mentioning anything regarding these ideas. He has not mentioned, but he is using the same thing. आप उनके चार्ट्स कोई भी उठा के देख लो. Otherwise क्या होगा sir? Otherwise, simply to say that the transit of Jupiter is not favorable here in Leo sign, the question will arise why it is not favorable. You don't have any answer on the basis of Cuspal interlink theory.
No, what you said is at present, for the time being, is okay, but ultimately your ideas will be accepted if the marriage really have took place between 22 December 28 and 26 December 28.
Sir, I have worked. That's very true. I have worked on not one chart. I have come up with these. I have come up with the transit rules not by working on one chart. I think about 50-60 charts I have worked upon to find out by using the same ideas and principle that whether I am getting the results or not. And I found that almost in every chart, there are one or two charts where I could not, satisfy these rules, but in all other charts, the rules they passed.
So logically, you are correct. Let us see the marriage when really it takes that date.
It is to be waited.
Your ideas are fully correct.
Now, this is the first period at which the marriage is likely to happen. Now, suppose if the native himself is not interested up to 2028, then we can't do anything. Then his marriage is likely to happen in the age of 33 or 34 years, not before that. That is the second part of the analysis.
Sir, another point is the native's mentality is also determine the planetary positions. The chart itself will tell the native's mentality.
Correct.
So whether he will want to marry or not.
Yes.
That also can be displayed by the chart.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Sir, इसमें देखो ना सबसे पहला point है that the sub-lord of the ascendant is Saturn. And if you look here, the co-rulers of the ascendant are three slow-moving planets: Jupiter, Ketu, and Saturn, which means that there is likely to be a delay in the marriage of this person. Jupiter, Ketu, and Saturn, slow moving planets. Forget about Jupiter, focus on Ketu and Saturn. अब केतु अगर 7th हाउस में प्रेजेंट हो तो मैरिज में डिले करता है, it delays the marriage. Sir, there are many different rules. अब मेल चार्ट में from Venus, if Jupiter and Saturn are present in the same house, in the 2nd house, in the 5th house, and in the 9th house, there is likely to be a delay in the marriage. Marriage is delayed, and this principle is not applicable for one chart, it is applicable for hundreds of charts. This principle, what I am
Please repeat, sir. This principle, please repeat, sir.
Sir, if from Venus, in the case of male, Saturn and Ketu are in the same house where Venus is present, in the 2nd house from Venus, in the 5th house from Venus, and in the 9th house from Venus, then there is always likely to be a delay in the marriage. Marriage is always delayed.
So for this, Saturn and Ketu should be jointly present in these houses?
हो सकता, फिर तो मैरिज ही नहीं होगी
any
ना.
one of them is also?
Sir, in few of cases, sir, in few of diverse cases also.
Please, one by one. मैडम की बात पहले कंप्लीट कर लें.
So Saturn and Ketu together.
If Saturn and Ketu together are present, then they will not permit the marriage.
Suppose only one is there?
Then it can delay the marriage.
Sir, while analyzing the few of the diverse cases, I observed and noticed that Saturn and Ketu conjunction, sir.
No, that is important. For divorce cases, Rakesh means Rahu, Ketu, and Saturn should be the Dasha period lords. And if they are appearing as the Dasha period lords, malefic planets are appearing as the Dasha period lords, and in the Cuspal table also, they are not signifying or not strongly signifying the marriage giving houses, then there is likely to, the divorce is likely to happen. और डिवोर्स के केसेस में जरूरी नहीं है, कभी कभी वीनस भी होता है, कभी कभी सन भी होता है, तो इट इज नॉट ए मस्ट कि सैटर्न और केतु ही होंगे, बट केतु इज ए प्लैनेट ऑफ सेपरेशन, नो डाउट अबाउट इट.
Thank you, Kapil bhai, thank you very much for your good analysis. I am taking leave.
Sir, thank you so much for being a part of this group, sir. Thank you so much. Right, sir. Good night, Naidu ji.
Excellent point, sir. Today's excellent point.
हाँ जी. आप किसी ने ओजा जी ने बात करनी थी. ओजा सर.
In fact, I was to interfere between two conversations because of the Naidu's question. In fact, Kullar sir जो है not given a retrograde conjunction.
हाँ, कुछ नहीं दिया हुआ उन्होंने.
But he has also not given anything just like Desh Kal Parishti and
कुछ भी नहीं दिया
whole chart according to Vedic. But we have to assess entire problem looking to the all factors. Especially in the marriage cases, we must first note down the auspicious time, Muhurta.
वो भी एक पार्ट है सर, वो भी.
Yeah, that is important. So in case in Andhra Pradesh there is a Muhurta in the Leo sign when the sun is transiting Leo, and in Virgo sign, and in Libra and Scorpio, then marriage cannot be there. So we can go just ahead after on the basis of the transit of sun in the month of Sagittarius में marriage नहीं होता, तो सीधा we have to go to Makar. Ultimately we will go in the January.
नहीं सर, Sagittarius में तो 12th month आ जाएगा ना. Sagittarius sign, सर सन जब Sagittarius में जाएगा तो 12th month में होगा.
ना सर, according to मुहूर्ता Sagittarius में जो है जनरली जो है शादियां नहीं होती जो है, थर्ड मास रहता है, तो हमको ये देखना होगा किस एरिया में शादी हो रही है। स्पेशली मैरिज की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, आंध्र प्रदेश में या जहाँ का भी नेटिव है वहाँ उनके क्या मतलब कस्टमरी क्या है, वो भी हमें देखना पड़ेगा। क्योंकि किताब में तो नहीं लिखा उन्होंने, ये मैं कहना चाह रहा था। नायडू जी के क्वेश्चन का ही मैं जवाब दे रहा था कि उसमें रेट्रोगेट तो आपने जो कि स्पेशली अपना रीडिंग के अंदर लिया है, और वी कैन नॉट डायरेक्टली टॉक अबाउट रेट्रोगेशन कंजक्शन बिकॉज ऑफ द कैजुअल इंटरलिंक थ्योरी जो है।
जी जी जी।
बट वी हैव टू जो है कंसीडर ऑल द फैक्टर्स जो है इन व्हाइल असेसिंग द चार्ट जो है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द पॉइंट रेज्ड आइदर इट मैरिज और द जॉब व्हाटसोएवर जो है। मैरिज में स्पेशली मुहूर्ता हमको देखना पड़ेगा, गृह प्रवेश में मुहूर्ता देखना पड़ेगा, बहुत सी चीजें जहाँ मुहूर्ता देखना पड़ेगा।
नहीं वो तो है सर, वो एक पार्ट सेपरेट है ना सर, मुहूर्ता का डिफरेंट है टोटल। अब यहाँ तो क्वेश्चन ये है ना, यहाँ तो क्वेश्चन ये है एनालाइजिंग ए चार्ट जस्ट टू फाइंड आउट दैट व्हाट इज द एप्रोप्रिएट एज। अब डेट कौन सी होगी, एज कौन सी होगी। अब इस पर्टिकुलर टाइम पीरियड में सबसे पहली बात तो ये है ना सर, इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि जिस नेटिव की शादी होनी है वो इंटरेस्टेड हो शादी में, तभी शादी होगी ना सर। चाहे प्लैनेट जितने मर्जी हो फेवरेबल, सलमान खान की शादी नहीं हो रही, वो खुद ही इंटरेस्ट नहीं ले रहा। अब उसकी चार्ट देखो अगर आप, वो मैरिज तो दे रहा है, हिज चार्ट इज गिविंग मैरिज वेरी स्ट्रांगली, बट ही इज नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन मैरिज, he is 60 years of age. There are so many things.
On this point I will not agree if we are जो है talking about astrology and the planets जो है, unless planets allow, unless destiny allow, no event can happen। हम खुद इस बात को कहते हैं नेटिव इंटरेस्टेड है नहीं है, ये बात जो यहाँ मतलब
नहीं सर, मैं यहाँ पे आपको थोड़ा सा करेक्ट करना चाहूंगा। एस्ट्रोलॉजी by no means can give you any prediction correctly.
नहीं everybody
ये बात है सर, डेस्टिनी पे सारा छोड़ देंगे, then there is no need to study the subject, then we may say that जो डेस्टिनी में होगा वो हो जाएगा। ये
नहीं, लेकिन एस्ट्रोलॉजी का क्या हुआ, हम एस्ट्रोलॉजी कर रहे हैं, हम प्लेनेटरी पोजीशन पढ़ रहे हैं, और हम ये कह रहे हैं कि वो इंटरेस्टेड नहीं है। इंटरेस्ट इसलिए नहीं है कि प्लेनेट उसका अलाउ नहीं कर रहा, कौन सा प्लेनेट अलाउ नहीं कर रहा हमको देखना पड़ेगा।
क्या मालूम है सर उसका क्या चक्कर है, क्या नहीं है।
नहीं, हम इस चार्ट से ही कहेंगे कि भाई ये प्लेनेट जैसे आपने कहा
देखो सर, हो सकता है उसने 2-3 शादियां कर रखी हो अलग से, लिव इन में रह के फिर छोड़ दिया हो, कैसे करोगे आप इसको? नहीं कर सकते सर। मैं एक पॉइंट आपसे ये कहना चाहूंगा, एक चार्ट को देख के, प्लैनेटरी पोजीशंस को देख के अगर हम एनालिसिस करेंगे तो वो मेरे हिसाब से जो है वो ठीक नहीं होगा, बिकॉज ही कैनॉट। अब अजय बाम्बी जी क्या करते हैं, वो यही कुछ करते हैं, उनकी 100% प्रेडिक्शंस गलत होती हैं, वो यही कुछ करते हैं।
नहीं सर, आपका लॉजिक जो है बहुत सही है, बट आई अप्रिशिएट दैट कि सैटर्न यहाँ सबलॉर्ड बना है असेंडेंट का भी, और उसका 11th का, तो सैटर्न डिले करता है, ये बिल्कुल सही है, वो ज्यादा लॉजिक सही है आपका। बजाय इसके कि हम ये कहें कि वो इंटरेस्टेड नहीं है या इंटरेस्टेड
नहीं, मैं तो सलमान खान की बात कर रहा था सर। उसके प्लैनेट देखोगे ना, चार्ट है मेरे पास, आई विल शो यू द चार्ट, यू विल सी दैट कि उसके चार्ट में आप कह ही नहीं सकते अगर आपको पता ना हो सलमान खान।
प्लेनेट का बिहेवियर आफ्टर ऑल हमें कंसीडरिंग ऑल, उसका प्लेनेट का नेचर, साइन का नेचर, ये सब चीजें कैजुअल इंटरलिंक में दिया हुआ है, स्कॉलर साहब ने इंक्लूड किया है। हम उस बेसिस पे इस बात को एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं और कर रहे हैं। तो आपका जो पॉइंट था, सैटर्न यहाँ आया हुआ है, सैटर्न डिले करता है, ये बिल्कुल सही लॉजिक है इसमें।
नहीं, पॉइंट ही है, और हमारे पास ऑप्शन ही कोई नहीं है। वी हैव नो अदर आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन।
अब मूर्ति साहब बताएंगे वहाँ कौन कौन से पीरियड में जो है मैरिज होती है, कौन कौन से मुहूर्त होते हैं, वहां से पता लगेगा कि हम जनवरी में पहुंचे।
तो सर अगर आप देखो तो हमारा बेसिक पॉइंट क्या था कि हमें सिर्फ दशा, भुक्ति और अंतरा पे फोकस करना है। दशा, भुक्ति, अंतरा हमने फोकस कर दिया कि सैटर्न की दशा, सैटर्न की भुक्ति, वीनस का अंतरा, मैरिज हो जाएगी। और वीनस का अंतरा कहाँ चलेगा सर? आप देखो, वीनस का अंतरा चलेगा 5-8-28 से लेके 5-2-29 के बीच में, इन 6 महीने में मैरिज हो जाएगी। दैट्स ऑल।
इसमें दो इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट थे एक्चुअल में, कि जुपिटर में शादी क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए, क्यों हो सकती थी, ये पॉइंट डिसाइड किया आपने। उसके बाद सैटर्न की दशा भुक्ति में आए, वो पॉइंट डिसाइड किया। दैट इज वेरी जो अप्रिशिएबल पॉइंट इन द कस्पर इंटरलिंक। इसके बाद और क्या डेट निकालना या पर्टिकुलर जो टाइम निकालना, ये
एग्जैक्ट नहीं निकलता सर, कभी भी
बड़ा
एग्जैक्ट
मुश्किल है,
नहीं होता
बहुत
बहुत
टिपिकल
मुश्किल है।
जॉब है। लोग करते क्या है, रिजल्ट आ जाता है उसके बाद अपना आर्टिकल बना देते हैं,
नहीं,
क्या
फिर
ये हो गया।
वही यही करते हैं सर, वही
हाँ।
करते हैं। आप बिफोर हैंड प्रोडिक्ट करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है सर, और 5, 7, 10 डेज इधर उधर हो जाते हैं।
नहीं, अगले क्लास में कोई मैरिज केस ऐसे लेंगे जो जिसमें मैरिज हो गई हो।
हाँ, मैंने तो कई चार्ट्स किए हुए हैं, देखते हैं
वो
नेक्स्ट।
ज्यादा वो ज्यादा सही है।
किसी और ने क्वेश्चन पूछना तो पूछो। एनीबडी एल्स इन द क्लास हु वांट्स टू आस्क ए क्वेश्चन?
Sir, in case of
1 minute, sir.
हाँ जी,
What are the planks of signification for not interested in marriage?
हाँ जी।
If a person is not interested in marriage, what are the significance? What are the significance
नहीं
of planks?
नहीं बता सकते सर, हम सिर्फ असेंडेंट के असेंडेंट को देखें, 7th हाउस को, वी विल रीड द 7th हाउस एंड द को-रूलर्स ऑफ द 7th हाउस एंड ट्राई टू मेक आउट and predict the answers on the basis of the cuspal linking by the co-rulers of the 7th house. That's all.
Sir, in case of transit, this the Saturn and Jupiter aspects, is it in the transit chart or is it the
transit chart?
Transit of Jupiter in the natal chart?
No, not in the natal, in the transit chart. It has to be taken for the transit. Not the natal.
And sir, my question is transit of Jupiter in the aspecting the natal chart 7th house, na sir?
Yes, natal chart 7th house.
वो तो 1 पॉइंट है ही है सर, इसमें इम्पोर्टेंट क्या है?
वो ये कहना चाहते हैं कि हम ट्रांजिट में नेटल चार्ट में देखें या उसमें ये कहना चाह रहे हैं?
ट्रांजिट चार्ट में मैं बोल रहा हूँ, ये तो कह रहा हूँ मैं, ट्रांजिट चार्ट में।
कपिल सर नेटल चार्ट में नहीं देखे सर, ये वाला
नहीं, नेटल चार्ट में नहीं देखना सर, नेटल चार्ट में नहीं देखना।
Sir, you mean the 7th house in natal chart only? I mean transit chart only?
ट्रांजिट चार्ट ओनली,
Not a natal 7th house?
नहीं सर, वो क्या करेंगे हम? आप देखो ना यहाँ पे ये पोजीशन तो चेंज ही ना हुई। See what I am talking is I am talking of the transit of Jupiter.
You have chosen natal, use natal cusp option.
ये नेटल चार्ट है, दिस इज नेटल चार्ट, दिस इज नेटल चार्ट।
Natal only it is showing. Cusp
ये
will be natal.
नेटल चार्ट में पोजीशंस ऑफ प्लैनेट्स इज चेंजिंग, दैट्स ऑल। ट्रांजिट नहीं ले रहा ना मैं यहाँ पे, यूज ट्रांजिट
Cusp natal का cusp है सर।
हाँ, ये देखो लिखा हुआ है यूज नेटल cusp।
That's why natal cusp only you are using.
Yes, natal cusp only. ट्रांजिट में तो चेंज हो जाएंगे ना, ट्रांजिट में तो हर 2 आवर्स में जो आपका असेंडेंट चेंज हो जाएगा। इसी में देखो ट्रांजिट लगाएंगे, अगर हम ट्रांजिट कस्प लगाएंगे और इसको कैलकुलेट करेंगे, लुक हियर ऑल द साइंस विल चेंज।
आपने प्रोग्रेशन छोड़ दिया?
नहीं, वो करना है सर, बड़ा लंबा काम होता है।
अच्छा, अगले टाइम करेंगे
वो, देखते हैं नेक्स्ट टाइम पे देखते हैं, या उसके बाद देखते हैं जब भी टाइम मिलेगा। हाँ जी, एनी मोर क्वेश्चंस?
ओझा साहब
जी,
have you seen any example transit chart in Kular books? किताब में है, एक होता तो भी एक एग्जांपल बताओ।
मूर्ति सर, जो कपिलाजी जितनी स्टडी करते हैं रात दिन में नहीं करता। आपको मालूम है मेरी सर्कमस्टांसेस, फैमिली कैसी है। मैं तो पिछले 2-3 महीने से किताब ही नहीं उठा के देखी, कहाँ से भूल जाता हूँ। वो तो जब क्लास चलता है तो कुछ थोड़ा बहुत पलट के देख लेता हूँ। मेरे
almost all I have searched each and every page. No, nothing is given about transit.
नहीं दिया।
Simply he says transit agrees.
Yes, that's all.
So in that situation, we have to follow whether it is Kapila says or Murti says or Voja says, whoever it may be. Because when there is no way, we have to follow. We have to get an idea. So that I am in this transit chart, I support Mr. Kapilaji. Whatever it may be, whether it is wrong or right, he is showing a path. You follow like this, bolta hai bano. So we have to follow. When it is not given in clearly, we have sir, Kapila sir, YTH में ये केवल एग्जांपल्स मैरिज का चेक करो भैया, मैं भी करूंगा।
नहीं है, नहीं मूर्ति जी, कुछ नहीं है उसमें। एक्चुअली क्या है कि YTH के चार्ट्स में मैंने प्रिंसिपल्स लगाए हैं, व्हाट आई एम डिस्कसिंग विद द क्लास। What I am talking in the class is only on the basis of my analysis, which I have done for so many charts. Only then I put up a rule. Only then I tell a rule. Otherwise, so it's no fun talking about a rule, unless and until it is applicable to majority of charts. Now, there may be charts, I said that almost 40-50 charts I have studied. There may be charts where this rule is not applicable. Maybe 1 or 2 in 50 or 100 charts. So, वो exceptional है sir, उनको किसी और तरीके से हम देखेंगे. But most of the charts, the rules are applicable, and that is why. And if you remember it, 3 charts earlier also I have discussed, where I have discussed the 6-8 and I have discussed 12th to the sign. And I have shown in the charts that appearance of the planet 12th with its own sign will not allow the event to fructify, and appearance in 6-8 position will not allow the event to fructify. ये हमने मैरिज के चार्ट्स में डिस्कस किया हुआ, चाइल्ड बर्थ के चार्ट में डिस्कस किया हुआ. 2-3 चार्ट्स पहले डिस्कस किए हैं सर, पुराने लेक्चर्स में होगा ये. अगर आप चेक करोगे तो उनमें मिल जाएगा. Any more questions by anybody in the class? हाँ जी, पूछो आप. किसी ने कुछ पूछना है?
Sir, analysis of Salman Khan chart